Good morning. Let's call to order the February 18th, 2020 meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety. Everybody please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up, approval of minutes from our February 3rd meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Support. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a request for street closure. Benny Edwards, Director, Patch Harborside Heritage Organization, is requesting street closure of one portion of Michigan Boulevard in front of Westcott Park, one lane. The eastbound and westbound lanes will be open except for the one lane farthest from the curb for the 17th annual celebration on Saturday, August 15th, 2020 from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Has our police department reviewed this request?
Yes, good morning. Captain Jeff Leneski, Traffic Division. At the last meeting, we had recommended approval of the request. It was just referred to the other departments as far as the picnic tables and the other requests being made by Mr. Edwards.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear what he said very much.
Just for clarification, I think this request differs slightly because the last request did not request the street closure. So you're approving the street closure as well with it, correct?
Okay.
And the only thing I would add is at the appropriate time that the city get the correct certificate of liability insurance, naming the city as additional insured. This will kind of go in and tie into what we have at the very end of our agenda and our pending list when this is brought back up. So the certificate of liability will, because they're also asking for alcohol to be brought on the premises, that our insurance company recommends liquor liability coverage as well.
Okay, thank you. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion to approve the request for street closure to close one portion of Michigan Boulevard in front of Westcott Park. The eastbound and westbound lanes will be open except for the one lane furthest from the curb for the 17th annual celebration on Saturday, August 15th from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we move on to request for vendor pyrotechnician. J&B Roofing at 760 North US Highway 212 is requesting approval for a vendor/pyrotechnician to perform a fireworks display for an employee and family picnic located at J&B West headquarters on Saturday, June 27th, 2020 from 4 to 11 p.m. We have a representative from J&B. Step to the microphone, please.
My name is Howard Fabry. Thank you and good morning.
And can we have address for the record?
My address is 315 Lincoln Avenue, Michigan City.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions?
Mr. President, if I may, I've been out of the office and I haven't had the opportunity to speak with the fire department as to exactly why this is on the Board of Works agenda. So I was hoping that this board might table this so that I would have the opportunity to speak with the fire department exactly as to why this is on the agenda here today. I know we have an ordinance that talks about regulations of fireworks and when they can happen and not happen, and part of the exceptions of when they can happen refer us back to state law. So I wanted to go over that with our fire department.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to table the request for pyrotechnician to perform fireworks display for an employee and family picnic located at J&B West headquarters on Saturday, June 27th from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion, but I would like to add, sir, that I don't feel that you really need to be overly concerned. This is pretty much standard what we do in a situation like this when we don't know very many of the details.
I understand that. Thank you.
And do we want to table this then to our March 2nd meeting?
Do you want to
Yes.
just put it on the pending list?
Yeah, we can just put it on the pending list till March 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have approval of beer garden. Councilman Johnny Stimley, representing St. Patrick's Day Parade Group, is requesting approval to have a beer garden on March 7th, 2020 from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on the corner of 7th and Franklin to benefit the Irish Garden in Friendship Gardens. Is Mr. Stimley, I do not see him. Oh, yes, I do.
Johnny Stimley, 3205 Tilden Ave. Like I said, this year the St. Patrick's Day organization is going to try something a little bit different. We're going to try to have a fundraiser down at the corner there where the redevelopment property is, which we did get redevelopment approval last meeting to have a small beer garden from noon to 3 on the March 7th, which would be the St. Patrick's Day parade to coincide with that.
Do we have any questions or concerns from the board?
The only thing I would recommend is that we get the necessary certificate of liability insurance with liquor liability, naming the city and redevelopment as additional insured. I'm assuming that redevelopment has already advised you of that as well. And the necessary state permits, of course.
Good morning, Skylar York, Executive Director of the Redevelopment Commission. We did, and we basically it was the chicken or egg thing. If you guys say yes, so yes, it's all approved.
Thank you, Skylar. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve,
Pending insurance.
pending the insurance requirements are met. Thank you.
Second the motion to approve the request for the beer garden for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, March 7th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the corner of 7th and Franklin Street.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions from the board? Then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have request for a 5K, 10K walk-run. Christine Kaiser, running for Preston, is requesting approval for the 9th annual 5K, 10K walk-run to raise awareness and funds for pediatric cancer research on Saturday, September 19th, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 9:45 a.m.
Good morning, I'm Chris Kaiser, 6666 West Michael Place in Michigan City. And as it was stated in the request, this would be the 9th annual run for pediatric cancer research to be held down at Washington Park. We've had park board approval already. We'll be following the same course as in previous years, so there's no changes to the course and what anticipated temporary closures there would be, as well as we don't incur any additional liability to the city as far as financial because we use volunteer EMT, police officers, and fire department officers that morning.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Concerns? So is additional liability insurance required?
It is required, and I know in the application she indicated that she will be providing it closer to the event, which has historically been what she's done. Probably about 30 days prior to the event, we'll get a certificate of liability insurance.
Thank you. So, pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the request for the 9th annual 5K, 10K run walk to raise awareness for funds for pediatric cancer research to be held at Washington Park on September 19th from 8 a.m. to 9:45 p.m. Oh, right. Yeah, a.m. I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved, same, or opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have contract approval 2020-21 union contract between Local 228, Council 962, American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, and the Civil City of Michigan City, Indiana. Is there anyone here to represent? No?
Mr. President, if I may, late last year, it was myself, our personnel director, our director of central services at that time, and also the controller's office that sat down with the union to negotiate the changes to the contract. The contract expired just because it was a 2-year contract expiring at the end of 2020. So before you is the newly negotiated contract, and if I may go over just briefly what those changes would be. It would still be a 2-year contract with wage reopeners, if possible, if the city would be giving a raise within those years, but it is a 2-year contract. Some of the changes are just cleaning up language. For example, some of the position titles have changed. We no longer have Secretary 1. That became Secretary 2. Our janitor car washer positions, now known as Custodian 2. So those names were changed to accurately reflect the correct title. Also, I believe it was late last year, the year before, our United States Supreme Court came down with a court decision about service fees and how the union could no longer change that. So that was eliminated, or charge that. So that was eliminated from the contract. One of the significant changes happened with animal control. We have 2 animal control officers, and they alternate each week about who's on call. Neither one of those officers was given any type of on-call pay, so they were required to be present, stay here within the city, but weren't technically being compensated for it. So what this contract does do is for the employee required to be on call, he or she would be given a pay of $50 per week for that on-call pay. In addition, if an animal control employee is called back to work at the end of the shift, they'd be guaranteed at least 2 hours of pay. So that would be the significant change to animal control. In addition, last year the council approved a 1% raise for all city employees. That 1% raise is then reflected in the wage section of all the positions covered by the union contract. And then lastly, the union has requested, and our personnel director did not see it to be any type of problem, that if the personnel director is conducting any type of orientation for new employees, that the union president or whoever that designee is receive notice that that orientation is being conducted and have the right to attend and present any information to the new employee about the union.
Do we have any questions from the board regarding the new contract?
I have none, Mr. President. Ms. LePage Stallbrink answered my question. We discussed it before the meeting because this was approved by the previous administration, and I had no knowledge of any terms of the contract that had changed. So what's been presented, I'm fine with. I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, with no other questions, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 union contract between Local 228, Council 962, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees of the City of Michigan City.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we have request for property and destruction of approval to trade and destruction of approval to trade equipment. Chief of Operations Dave Cooney, MCPD, is requesting approval of the following. We've got the destruction of computer and video equipment. The city's IT department is deemed unusable. Destruction of vehicle equipment from fleet vehicles, and the MCPD no longer owns and cannot use in future vehicles, requesting that some items from the fleet vehicles that can be traded for equipment to outfit the MCPD command center with LED lighting, no extra fees.
Mr. President, I had the opportunity to speak with Chief Cooney prior to this meeting started. he provided two lists to this board. One has a short list, which looks like this, and then the second list is a longer list. For purposes of the short list, this is all IT requested destruction of assets in the possession of the police department. He is requesting that these are no longer usable, that this short list be on the destruction. But as to the second list, the longer list, some of the items need to be pulled out, what is being traded in and what is being destroyed. So he is asking the board to take no action on this list. At the appropriate time, he's going to come back before this board and provide this board with an amended list specifically delineating what's going to be traded in and what's going to be destroyed.
Okay. So in other words, we can't approve the one list today. But,
Correct.
But we'll, yeah. So, pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President, to approve the short list, and I'd like to thank Chief Cooney for that responsible action, because I have no knowledge of what's in this list, and we trust your judgment. I was going to ask, what's the method of destruction of this equipment?
Dave Cooney, Chief of Operations with Michigan City Police. Traditionally, I'd have to look into that further. I'm not sure what they used in the past, so I don't know if it's just the refuse department or if it's electronic equipment, if it needs to be handled that way.
I mean, if it's got memory capability, we just need to make sure that that's destroyed.
Correct.
Okay.
I will get that answer for you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I have no issue with approving the short list.
If I can add to that, first I have a question for our attorney. Since I am an employee of the IT department, should I abstain from this vote, or are we okay with that?
Well, I would abstain from it because you have direct involvement in it.
Okay.
I think for all intents and purposes that it probably is cleaner if you abstain from it.
Okay, and I have no problem with that. And then to answer the mayor's question, as far as memory and that, what happens is all of the hard drives are removed from the computers or any other piece of equipment that has some kind of storage or memory. Those are held by IT until IT requests destruction.
I see.
And then they are physically destroyed after that. So what the police department will be destroying is, might as well say, basically the shell of the computer or whatever the device is. Okay. So I will abstain from this vote, but I will ask the board for their pleasure on this.
I will second the motion to destroy the following: a Nikon Coolpix P90, Laser Labs TM200, CST610V, CST610V, Dell Optiplex 3040, HP 505BMT, HP ProDesk 400, Tactical Video Box, Custom Green Box, Tactical Video Box, Custom Black Box, and Tactical Video Box, Custom Sandbox.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I said aye.
All right, motion carries, and that's with one abstain.
Do you want the long list to be put on the pending, or they can just bring it back?
No, let them bring it back. It'll be easier.
Thank you.
Next, we have final approval of contract. Skylar York, Planning Director, is requesting final approval for the contract with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors for completion of state reporting for DLGF regarding annual tax increment finance services, consulting, and financial advisory services.
Mr. President, I spoke with Mr. York. Technically, this is a redevelopment commission contract and should be approved by the redevelopment commission, not the Board of Works. So he did indicate that it's on the next, or it's already been approved by the redevelopment commission, so that the board doesn't need to do anything further.
Okay, all right, then we can just move along, right? We don't need to.
Correct.
Okay. We have approval of agreement for professional as-needed engineering services for 2020 by DLZ Indiana LLC and the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety, effective through December 31st, 2020. The maximum amount is limited to $15,000 per month. Is there anyone present from DLZ? Amber, have you reviewed that contract?
I have, and I'm fine with the board accepting it.
Okay. Then pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the agreement between for engineering services for the 2020 by DLZ Indiana LLC and the Michigan City Public Board of Works and Safety from December 31st, 2000, through December 31st, 2000, at a maximum limit of $15,000 per month.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I would like to, I'm sorry. Please.
I would like to comment, if I may, Mr. President, that for the public's benefit, Michigan City has several local engineering firms that we deal with, and these contracts are exactly what they are stated to be, an as-needed basis. There is no scope of work stated. We do this because we show no partiality, favoritism, or bias against any of the firms that do business with Michigan City. There will be a couple other contracts come before this board for approval, and they'll be treated the same way. That will be as-needed contracts for services only as we request them. I'm saying this for the public's benefit. We are living by what we said at the beginning of the year, that we are counting our dollars very vigilantly, but we do need resources when we have time of immediate need to be able to pick up the phone and give somebody the authorization to do work for us. But this money is not guaranteed to be spent, by no means. That being said, I approve, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a citizen recognition. Fire Marshal Jeff Bruder, MCFD, is requesting citizen recognition for Mr. Brett DeMoro, a city resident that had done a good deed and needs to be commended.
All right. Good morning, Public Works. How are you?
Good morning.
My name is Jeff Bruder. I'm a fire marshal. And this is Mr. Brett DeMoro. How you doing, Brett? Good to see you. I stand before you today in extreme appreciation to an individual who placed his own agenda aside to lend more than just a hand for his community. In the mid-morning hours of February 5th, the fire department listened to a call that no one wants to hear. Structure fire at Imagination Station. Smoke and odor of burning in the building, and they were attempting to evacuate. When the first two engines arrived, approximately 15 staff members and about 40 to 50 children from the ages of 1 to 5 stand outside with the widest of smiles and finger pointing at the new arriving fire trucks. Teachers and staff members were doing an outstanding job of keeping those kids corralled, and my own grandson in the mix. However, as firefighters continued to investigate the case or source, it began to get colder, and snow is predicted in the forecast for early afternoon. One staff member was allowed to return with a firefighter as an escort to retrieve coats for the children and a few blankets for the infants and toddlers. Some children now clinging on to staff members simply for warmth. A school bus was summoned from the bus barns, but we didn't have an exact timetable for arrival, and the kids have been outside for what seems to be an eternity, but only for about 10 or 15 minutes. LaPorte County EMS was on scene and started filling their rig with infants and toddlers along with caretakers, and it got crowded very quickly. Then arrived this young man who was just driving by and saw fire trucks in excitement, and who doesn't rubberneck when they see fire trucks in excitement? But through all the excitement, he realized the kids needed shelter. Pulled his work bus onto the drive of Imagination Station and came up to me and offered his warm bus to these kids and staff. Although that bus couldn't hold everybody, he managed to place about 10 kids and 4 adults in a warm bus until the all-clear was given. Mr. DeMauro did not hesitate 1 second when he saw a need to step in and help his fellow man, even if it meant his job. He expressed his concern after the fact that his employment could be jeopardized. But at no point, at that point, he'd already known he was doing the right thing. In the Michigan City Fire Department, would like to express our sincere thanks and gratitude for your unselfish act to help your community in need. So I thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
I just want to add thank you, Mr. DeMauro, and a thank you to our leadership in the fire department too for coming publicly to acknowledge. It'd be wonderful to see more of this. And I hope you do this at your monthly Fire Merit Commission meeting as well. I think it'd be well for them. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the claims docket. Municipal claims stand at $315,011.87. Medical trust claims, $110,225.38. CDBG, $24,414.69 for a total claim of $449,651.94. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the claims docket in the sum of $449,651.94.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion, Mr. President.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the payroll docket. City payroll, total of $873,816.72. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the payroll docket, payroll claims.
I'll second the motion to approve the payroll docket in the sum of $872,816.72.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Everybody gets paid again. One more week. Okay, next we have some unfinished business nominations. The Board of Public Works and Safety has one appointment to the Michigan City Plan Commission, which expired on January 1st of 2020. The incumbent is Ms. Faye Moore. Pleasure of the board. Do we have any nominations?
Mr. President, I wish to nominate Mr. Michael Grisham.
Okay, we have a nomination.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. Nomination of Mr. Michael Gresham as the board's appointment to the Michigan City Plan Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to our pending items list, and first on the list is Benny Edwards Patch Harborside, use of Westcott Park. We had referred this last meeting to the Park Department for their review and recommendations. Jeremy, do you have anything to add to this? Or?
Good morning. Jeremy Keenitz, Michigan City Park Superintendent. Historically, I know it's been a couple years since the event took place, but historically the Park Department has supported this event with getting the tables, trash cans, and porta pots on site for this event. So upon approval of the Board of Works, if you so choose to move forward with it, the Park Department fully supports and approves the event on our end as well.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Keenitz?
None.
Hearing none. Do we have to motion to take this off the pending list to vote on it? Or?
You can vote on it and then remove it from the
Okay.
pending list.
Okay. So, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve,
Pending the insurance.
pending the insurance requirements are met.
And I had mentioned that earlier in the meeting. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we need a motion to take this off of.
Motion to remove this item from the pending items list,
Second.
Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Makes our list a little shorter. Next, we have Cora Cambridge, 220 Gladys Street, requesting lighting. I know that this has been, we made a motion last meeting to keep this on the pending list until we figure out where the money's going to come from to pay for this. Okay. Next, we have John Chalikian, 609 Franklin Street. Has planning director or city engineer have anything to add to this since the last meeting?
Good morning, Board. Skylar York, Planning Director. Me and Jeff have talked about it, and I have engaged with a engineer right now to start the preliminary scope of what we're going to do with that road. But we're going to probably have to core it to see how it's made. Now that Jeff has some of these contracts in order, we can send someone out to core that road and get that going. But we have talked about new design of the road, how does it drain, but we won't know a lot of that until we see how it's built.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And Mayor, you had said you were going to be meeting with Mr. Chalikian. Did you have an opportunity?
No, Mr. President, I dropped the ball, so I scheduled an appointment with Mr. Chalikian to go out and look at this immediately after our meeting today.
Thank you.
Just one more thing. Just know that this has always been a priority for the Redevelopment Commission to get this road maybe eventually connected and things like that as a frontage road. So we're back on exploring that again. So that we may be able to take care of the whole road. So just
thank you. Okay, then this will just stay on our pending list for the time being. Lori Dudek, Director of Human Resources, Franciscan Health. This is in regards to the change of the bus stops along the way. Yes, Mr. Yagelski.
Yes, Chris Yagelski, the Administrator to the Mayor. Shortly after our last Board of Works meeting, I met with Robin Tillman, and there was a little confusion on the paratransit portion of this, which means that people must qualify to ride that bus, which means you must have a handicap, so it's not open to just everyone. So in talking with her, and then of course the mayor met with Dean Mazzoli from the hospital, and we all agreed to just revert back to the original plan, which was the normal bus route where there's 12 stops a day on a regular basis there at the hospital, leaving at the emergency room. And for the last year that the hospital has been open, there has been no complaints of riders and or citizens of Michigan City in reference to this stop. So it was all agreed upon that we would just continue on. So I would like to see if that could be removed from the pending, and we're just going to carry on with our traditional bus stop.
Thank you.
Mr. President, at the last meeting, there was a motion that was made to approve the recommendation by Ms. Tillman, and I believe the board formally voted on it. So if we're going to go back to the way it was originally done, technically you should have a motion today to set aside that recommendation that was previously made.
Okay, do we have such a motion?
Before I would make that motion, I would like to comment in addition to what Mr. Yagelski stated. I did have a meeting with Mr. Mazzoni, the head of Franciscan Hospital, and I told Mr. Mazzoni that our position that the paratransit bus will not serve the needs of the community, and because since the hospital's been open, we have made over 3,000 runs out to the hospital without a single incident or complaint, that we are going to continue to stop near the emergency center, as the route was additionally designed to do, until something can be done on Franciscan's side of the aisle. And Mr. Mazzoni said that he understood, that he is going to take that back to the drawing boards with his people, and we are going to eventually we are going to come up with something that's going to be workable to both sides. But for now, until we hear more from Franciscan, we are going to continue the route as originally designed.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, we're still looking for a motion to, I guess, vacate last meeting's decision.
Move to set aside the previous decision regarding the para-transit bus at the St. Anthony location, and also move to revert back to the regular bus schedule of the regular bus.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now I believe we need a motion to remove this from our pending list.
Motion to remove, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to remove this item from our pending list. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have Harvey Picorni, 905 Colfax Street. This is in regards to an alley being paved or looking at the possibility of it. This has been continued to our March 2nd meeting. And lastly, we have order to demolish 710 West 10th Street. Again, this has been moved ahead to our March 16th meeting, so we'll let that reside for the time being as well. Pending items finished, we move on to public comment. Are there any comments from the public?
My name is Faye Moore, 515 Grace Street, Michigan City, and I'd like to know why my nomination was not accepted for the Planning Commission. I submitted my request to continue to be on the Planning Commission.
Ms. Moore, this is a position that is filled by the Board of Public Works, and as you heard, I put Mr. Grisham's name in nomination because he has served on this board before, and his level of qualifications for the type of business that the Planning Commission handles is higher than yours.
And you know that because you have never talked to me. I worked 5 years with New York City Housing Authority, and as working with the Housing Authority, I worked in the design department. I also have been on the Planning Commission while Mr. Gresham was on the Planning Commission, and we have served together on that commission. I've also been very active in the community and other areas, and have contributed to the Planning Commission. And my attendance has been good also.
Well, I hope you will stay active in the community.
I will stay active.
I envision you being on another board, but not this board at this time.
Okay, so noted.
Do we have any other public comments? Any comments about anything from anyone?
Kathy Stransky, 223 East Parker Ave. I want to thank Mayor Perry for coming out yesterday to the food drive. Long before I seen you at the head of the line, when I was working in line from the back, I had heard the mayor's here, and I think it was a great boost to the people that came to get the food that you cared enough to come out and help work and distribute that food for them. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Stransky. I will comment that it was a very eye-opening experience. I'd never done it before, and I will continue to do it knowing how many people in Michigan City need both actual physical and emotional support.
I can give you some numbers because I had them last night. We had 317 residents in line who received food. We had a total of 12,175 members of families that would be fed. And we had over 12,000 pounds of meat.
What an event. Incredible.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, any board comments? Okay, hearing no board comments, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.